Hello everyone, my name is AP the Weird One, and welcome back to episode 2 of Digimon Beat Break, Glowing Dawn. I feel sorry, Tomorrow Tenma. He has been given a heavy burden, especially in this episode, what we've kind of learned, dealing with the Haimon, with his brother, his family, the Ministry of Civil Protection, all this stuff, including himself, he's got a heavy burden. This episode had a lot of good action, but also had some good, nice character moments that I really like. So overall, it was good. I'm excited for the future. Now, as predicted, because of the interviews, we don't get to see Geckomon's champion form. Now, in terms of when it's going to happen, maybe next episode, maybe episode 3. I know in terms of like Digimon, the latest for like the main character to have his partner champion was in Digimon Tamers. I did research this. Growlmon came up in episode 8. However, it seemed like the other kids' partners were beforehand Gargomon, Cubimon, so his being the last sort of made sense. We had a few more champions. I suspect his is going to be coming maybe either episode 3 or potentially episode 4, and I think Chiromon's going to be the last one. So Chiromon's going to be the last one. I think. I'm not 100% sure, but considering that Chirotmon doesn't really like the battle and everything, is more of a data recorder, it would make sense that I think him being a more offensive capability and being on the front lines doesn't seem like the possibility, or like being a more active fighter, so to speak. I think he is definitely will be last. And I think that next episode kind of gives some hints that we could see Geckomon evolving in his champion form, or at least episode 4. I could see it being a two-parter episode potentially. But let's begin. So the episode kind of started off with, and also I should mention, spoilers for the episode. I'm going to show you some screenshots. But suppose we get a little bit beforehand, before like rewind a little bit before Geckomon goes off on the Haimon. We see an excellent shot of Geckomon swelling up Tenma. He's inside, and then we see Makoto, and then what is the redhead's name? Reina. Reina is her name. They're coming to rescue, and they kind of bear witness to the battle. Geckomon's fight between the Haimon, or at least one of them, is actually really on top. He battles the one with the earring. A lot of fast-paced action. I liked it. It was very fun and very fun. But however, at the very end, he's using a lot of his E-pulse a little too quickly, as the other members of Glowing Dawn, Makoto and Reina, make the point out, and he eventually gets pinned down by the Haimon with Scar. He kind of Tomorrow is asking Haimon's like, I'm gonna make you pay for killing my brother, which we'll get to. But he's like, no, it wasn't me. It's like, regardless, I'm gonna still kick your ass essentially. And he does have a reason. We're gonna find more of the reason. But yeah, eventually the other Haimon returns, and we get this kind of moment where Haimon says, you're to blame for Hitomi, the little girl. The reason she got frozen blood and everything, or the frozen body. They bring it up, but I'm like, the frozen state again. Tenma's emotional reactions from this episode, and then from this part, and then going onwards, I will 100% suspect that tomorrow is gonna give Geckomon a dark evolution. There is gonna be sort of an evil. If I'm going to take a wild guess, I think it's going to be a Mega. I don't think Ultimate. I don't think Ultimate's going to be the kicker. Potentially the level 7, whatever, Ultra level or Mega Plus. Mega Plus they decide. Maybe they might do that. It's hard to guess, but I don't know. I definitely think based on this episode, we are going to see a Mega. We're going to see a Dark Evolution. I think it's a possibility from him. I just think he's got a lot of emotion going on with him. But we finally get a little bit more confirmation on the Shambhala theory. Gokumon comes in and just utterly rips out the Sapotama from the one Haimon, just a brutal death. I'm curious if in the future if they'll like for the battles will they show Digimon just ripping out the Saitama and then instantly killing him? Will we have more of the situation? Because he's about to Digivolve, but then his core gets ripped out. I'm curious if we'll be seeing more of that. Begs the question either from the allies or from an enemy force. I'm very curious if that will happen again. But we get a brief sense that, between him and Kyo, and then eventually we cut to the next day, and we'll bring up Kugermon. He looks very good. He looks a lot better in the anime than his official artwork. I will say that he's got a little bit longer ears. He doesn't look as stubby. I still like the design, but he's just a little bit better presence. But here's where we'll kind of summarize the little bit of info dump. So when he's about to eat food, he's mad about his brother believing he's dead. It's like perfectly understandable. Like he doesn't know about Digimon. His brother didn't inform him everything. He's got this weird e-pulse. He's blamed for Tomi's death. All these different aspects, and we find out later like they're separated from his parents. Probably because of the e-pulse, whatever. A similar situation from Bunny Girls. No, Rascal Doesn't Dream Of series. They separated from their parents for a brief time. A sort of situation like that. We get a whole bunch of information. I think Tomorrow's reactions is perfectly understandable. Everything's going on. Like he doesn't know about this world. Like it's still very confusing. I really appreciate it, but we do have a bit of a goal in mind. He's got to find the Gokumon. He's got to find the monkey friend if he wants to save his brother, and potentially in order to save Hitomi, he's going to have to go after the Haimon because he has her Sapotama. So if they eat the Sapotama of a person, and then I guess bite into the person, the only way to save them is to acquire the Sapotama back. That's how they save them from cures. It's sort of like what is it? Like the Eden syndrome from Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. So like they're a frozen state, but they don't have there's not an easy cure. Although in this case there is a simple answer. Just it's still very hard to do. You need cleaners like him. Well, Tomorrow, he's got all his emotions. He's 15 years old. He runs away. He doesn't trust any of this. But Gekkomon finds him, and we get some government bullshit. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I also love Gekkomon's facial expressions. He's gonna be top tier. His fight scenes. I'll talk a little bit more about the Digimon in the very end, but Gekkomon and then especially Pristimon, there's some high hopes for these two, but we'll get into that. So he finds them, and they don't really like it. He likes him, but likes the other. Then of course the government comes talking. The Ministry of Civil Protection. If you get a Digimon, because Digimon on board for Saitama, you get a call, and they tell you, come in, take care of this. If you don't, we're going to send cleaners after you. You're basically a criminal at this point. Listen, if the government comes calling you should never ignore, but he never got his call because the Sapotama was inside Gekkomon. But that's no excuse. Let's be perfectly fair. Because you met with a cleaner, a pseudo-government official, therefore that would happen. So I perfectly believe this, and these guys, the Kinoko brothers, or the Specialty Mushroom Gang, they want to take him away. We get to see Shambomon from Digimon Ghost Game, a recolor I'm not a fan of, because Mushmon has his own dedicated episode, and I'm with Puppamon, but I like him in this episode. It's still very fun. I'm not. My toned down anger is not so much, and I do appreciate that we are bringing him back, a Digimon from Ghost Game again. We're not leaving these more odd ducks from Ghost Game, to in a corner. We're bringing them back. We're going to use them again, even if for a brief stunt. But when we see him, maybe we'll see. Given that we do have multiple games, maybe we'll see Shambomon having a Mushroom Mega or something. No, Mushroom Ultimate. Mega, I don't think so. But Mushroom Ultimate, sure. I definitely see the possibility. But yeah, we get these guys. They, of course, they have to go we have to go battle against them. And you know, Gekkomon, he defeats the Mushmons no problem, but the Shambomon, you know, he's got his funky spores, and he wipes the floor with them. Unfortunately, he drains their E-Pulse, but then Wolvermon comes and we have the best scene of the world. Smug Wolvermon. Oh my god. Listen, Wolvermon is waifu material. I would not... I'm expecting Rule 34 coming from this girl. You know, she doesn't have the booba, but... Listen, this tickles the furry gang 100%. We are going to see her again. I 100% believe that. Listen, I think she's cute. I like her, but I'm not in the furry stuff, but I can see people liking this. I'm curious to what the drawings look like at least. But that does leave a couple questions near the end. But we should finish up after this. Tomorrow is basically lumped, and he's got to join Glowing Dawn. Essentially, he's going to have to be chased by the government or lose Gekkomon, which I want to talk about a little bit more at the very end. But yeah, he's eventually forced into the situation being cleaner. He has no choice. I feel bad for the kid. He's got a lot of emotion. Brother in a state of coma. His parents are gone because he's got this weird E-Pulse. He's got to deal with this stupid lizard. And then he's got to join these cleaners as they're just out for money. There's got a lot going on, man. You know, he's got it going a lot for being a 15-year-old. He's got to meet with Kyo and Makoto are very nice, but Reina, she's a redhead, so you don't know what's gonna go on with her. And if the previews make her seem, gave her the spiciness, so I'm looking forward to her character. She's given the voice actor is also voice actor for Machu, I expect a lot more fury from her. I expect good things. But before we talk about the Digimon, I want to talk about more of the Ministry of Self-Protection. This is the interpretation I got. Say you go to the Ministry of Self-Protection, it's like, well, I like this creature. I get a Tapirmon. I say, I'm not interested in being a cleaner, but I'm not a criminal, but I love this guy. He's a good dreamy boy. Makes me have some good dreams. I want to keep him. What is that going to happen? I 100% expect that the government say, no, you got to get rid of it. You can't keep it as a pet. Either you become a cleaner or you go. I 100% believe that this is the case, that they would actually tell you either you become a cleaner or we kill out or you basically become a criminal. They would not let you have a pet based off this episode, which I 100% believe this is correct. I mean, any kind of government would do that. Now, we do know there's an upper leash squadron. There is an elite group. They potentially could have Digimon. Maybe. We'll see. But, commoners, poor folks, no, you're no. You're not allowed to have Digimon. I 100% believe that. 100. Now, going with the Digimon, Wolvermon, and of course Gekkomon. Now, Gekkomon has a lot of high because, we want to see these high-sprung fights in him as champion forms, his good attitude. Hopefully that continues. I'm more kind of worried about the fight. The voice actress and the anime are more responsible the voice actress is more responsible for being Gekkomon high probability, or being a very good smart-ass character, like her emotions. I think she'll do the good job. Toei making sure Gekkomon has his good fight scenes and being pseudo Spider-Man, like, I don't know, I got my doubts. And of course, Wolvermon, you gotta sort of keep the sexy business with her. It could be a sexy beast waifu, or just going to straight up waifu or cyborg waifu. I know from Digimon Ghost Game with Jellymon, I know the Mega is not super waifu material, but I know people really liked it. It was people's expectations, but Wolvermon hits a different cue. Like, you need to keep this as a semi-sexy waifu. You don't necessarily need to get a big booba, but you need to keep the smugness. You keep the keep this sort of feminine look. We got to keep this. Otherwise, you're gonna piss people off. And I'm one of them. Listen, I don't want to fuck Wolvermon, but I like this design. I like her, and I like Reina. She's a cutie. So don't mess this up. But anyway, I rambled long enough. A solid good episode. I'm looking forward to the next one. Facing Mirrors next week. Now, at the time of this recording, Hulu does not have episode 2 available, which I'm kind of pissed because that's how I mean access. I don't want to pay for Crunchyroll, so unless if you don't create Crunchyroll, then you're going to sell a third season. The reason I have Hulu is because I have my dad has a special for getting a whole bunch of different deals, so he's got that for his sports, and now he just got access to Hulu. So take that as you will. I really wish Tokusatsu Nation, the people who are doing Kamen Rider Zets, I wish they given we're allowed to do Digimon Beat Break because they have their subtitles quick. I think it's maybe a couple hours. They've been doing a really good job, and they get you prepared for the next episode. When I do my Kamen Rider Zets episode, I'll talk a little bit more about them and give them more praise. But yeah, I just wish they were in charge of Digimon Beat Break's subtitling and viewing President America. And I also wish, because we get the Digimon reference book like right after the episode, I wish there was a way for us in America just to view the sub version legally. Like, I just put on like YouTube or something. Not like just the raw version. We don't need to listen to Japanese voice. You can give us the Japanese ad as everything. Just let us view it so we can not be super spoiled. But anyway, hopefully you guys have a wonderful day. Catch you guys next time. Like, comment, subscribe, and hype if you can. Anyway, see ya.